Hey everybody, welcome back to Reselling History. This is Scott, and today we have another watch unboxing video, another collection that I bought on eBay. And man, I have so much vintage watches right now, like it's pretty crazy. I even have more collections coming after this one right here. So if you guys like this type of stuff, don't hesitate to subscribe. Let me know, is this your favorite type of video? Do you like the vintage watches, or do you like me to mix it up a little bit with other type of antiques and collectibles? So this collection here, I paid $200 for, and I did pay a little bit of shipping and tax on that. So it's all going to be vintage mechanical watches as far as I know. The pictures weren't clear like a lot of listings on eBay, but there were two watches with a lot of potential value, and one of them appears to be a chronograph watch. But there are a lot of interesting subjects in this box. Let's go over them together. We'll see if I can make some profit and hopefully add a watch or two to my collection. All right. Got my lucky 8-ball to open up the watch cases, and I actually ran out of gloves the other day, so I'm doing this barehanded, and I'm pretty sure there's a few radium dial watches in here, so I'm going to be washing my hands a lot, and I have my air purifier on in the background. Now, like I said, I think these are all mechanical. It looks like a number of them might be pin lever watches as well, so let's get started. First up here is this Elgin, vintage Elgin. I think the listing said they think some of them work. This one's definitely not running. Yeah, this is not running at all, but it's a nice looking Elgin, and I think it's missing is that hand underneath the other one? I think it's missing a hand there. Yeah, it's missing one of the hands, so this is going to be a parts watch. It's probably worth selling that by itself. This is a Alpha 17 jewel, missing the crown. That's gonna be probably a parts watch. Some of these are even missing the crystal, like this. I think this is a Nelson. Yeah, this is a Nelson watch. Pretty cheap brand. Crown is overwound. That's gonna be a parts watch. Hamilton. Now, I've always gotten this watch brand has always thrown me off because it almost looks like it says Hamilton, and I've actually bought some collectible lots before with uncleared photos and thinking it was a Hamilton watch when it was just a Hamilton, and I've been pretty disappointed. So I think that watch company purposely did that. They're kind of playing off the name Hamilton, and they made the font look a little similar too. But this looks like Electra, so this is probably like an electric watch. I don't know, maybe if I have a battery for that, the right type of battery, it might be worth selling by itself. Here's another electric watch, and this is Stellaris. I've never heard of this company either. I have a bunch of watch batteries, so I'll just set all these vintage electric watches aside, and hopefully some of them work, but I have my doubts they'll work. Here's another Elgin. This is a self-winding automatic. And this one's not working either. So far there's no working watches, which is kind of a bummer, but I promise you a couple of these watches are pretty incredible in my opinion. Here is a Manuel, I don't know, Manuel watch company, jeweled. So this is like probably only a single jewel, Inca block. Kind of has a cool looking dial, I guess, it has like little lines next to her. I think it's actually just worn off the Roman numerals. That's gonna be parts watch. This one kind of has a cool look to it too. What is this? Arctos Parat. Parat. What is this, like Russian watch or something? Parat. Well, here's the movement, and there's nothing inside of the case lid either, but this looks like a very simple type of movement. I'm pretty sure this is a Russian watch. It's not running, unfortunately. All right, next up is a Seiko, and this is a pretty nice looking Seiko, probably from the 1970s. It's a Seiko automatic, 17 jewel. It's got the original bracelet, which always bumps up the value a bit. Now, is it running? That's the question. Let's see. Well, it looks like that second hand is moving a bit, so I'll test this for accuracy. Unfortunately, the dial is all, it's misaligned. You guys let me know in the comments. I know some of you are pretty into watchmaking yourselves. Is that an easy fix, straightening out and aligning that dial? I kind of have no idea what's going to be needed, what kind of part is going to be needed to do that. So let me know in the comments. But this is a nice Seiko. If I can get that dial lined up, and I have some pins for this bracelet here. This might be like $100 watch. All right, next up we have a couple of maybe older looking watches. At least one of them I think is older. This one says, man, I think it says Stort, S-T-O-R-T. I've never heard of this watchmaker before. I'm gonna pop off the movement on this one. And then I'm gonna do the same with this one. This one says Windsor. Windsor, I have seen watches from them before. They're pretty low quality. But this case on the right actually looks older than this one. So this might be from like the late teens or 20s era. I feel like this one's probably from the 50s, but let's take off that case. All right, here's that movement on the Windsor, and it's also on the movement. You can see that it's a 6 jewel. That mainspring looks super overwound. But this is probably from like the late teens, maybe the 20s. So this might be considered like a World War I era watch. Unfortunately, it's missing the crown and it's missing a hand. So darn, this is another parts watch. And here's that other Stork watch. I've seen these type of movements before, where basically the watch company is like tiny engravings right there on the watch, but I can't really make it out. I'll need my strong magnifying glass for that. But I think it says like Levine Watch Co. or something of that nature. It does say Brevet, so it is a Swiss-made movement, which is pretty cool. But this is going to be another repair watch. Another low-quality vintage watch. This is I think it's Simier. I've seen that they also make like a chronograph, or not necessarily a chronograph, but kind of like a chrono stopwatch. I've actually had one in the past by this company. Pretty basic, cheap stuff. I think even their chronograph was only worth like $50 to $75. So this is going to be another parts watch. Probably lot that up with some other ones. All right, we're getting to the better watches, I promise you. Here's a vintage Waltham ink block 17 jewel. Kind of looks a little weird, right? It's probably like a late 70s watch. It's possibly running. I did wind it up, and I'll test this for accuracy, but kind of a unique looking watch. Here is a vintage Rigo 1 jewel. No hands on the dial, Swiss made parts watch. All right, I'm sure some of you are thinking, where the heck are the good watches? Well, I promise you there are some coming up here very soon. And here is a, what is this? William watch. Inca block. Never heard of this watchmaker, but it feels a little bit better quality than the other ones. This might be worth doing some research on this here, because it's got a nice look to it. Probably from the late 40s, kind of a military style. I don't think it's running consistently because I barely turn the crown and it's already not turning, so it's only ticking probably because I picked it up. Ah, this is a Milber. I actually recently sold a Milber watch. Pretty sure this is from the 40s. The one I sold had like a World War II military dial look to it. This one kind of has a similar looking dial, but this is a black dial, which is pretty cool. That's pretty nice. I'll have to take these little springs off right here, but if it's working, I'll test this if it works. If so, it's maybe a $40 or $50 watch. Here is a vintage Jubilee wristwatch. It seems like it might be running also. Probably a 1960s gentleman's watch. Got a date indicator. Probably put a new strap on this, try to get $30 or $40 for it. Unusual watches. This is like a watch pendant right here by Lucerne. It's got a little heart and then like a little looking pendulum looking thing, kind of signifying the heartbeat. That's a funny watch. And then this one's also kind of strange. 17 jewel, and I think all of the numbers are different languages. So you got 12, un, zwei, don't know what that is, quattro, what is it? I don't know what that is. It looks like the pi symbol. 6, sept. Yeah, so this is a very unusual watch here. It's not running. Lucerne runs sometimes, but kind of just novelty watches. Okay, next up is a Sears, and this is an automatic Sears watch. See if this runs. It might be running. Unfortunately, I'm sorry for the bad lighting, you guys. I need to get a different setup here. But as you can see, the plating is pretty darn worn on this. The good news is Sears watches, they always sell, always, because Sears is like a very nostalgic American brand. There's a lot of people out there always, when they see Sears on a watch, they want it, because that was quite a while ago when Sears was selling wristwatches, and unfortunately I don't think Sears exists anymore. So pretty cool watch. I'll set that aside. And then here is a arpeggio automatic. This feels like a really cheap watch. Yeah, this is really cheap. You can tell. Look at it. It almost, basically it's a plastic case, so that's really low quality. Here is a vintage Renzi. I've had Renzis before. I don't think they're very valuable unless you have something really special looking. This is going to be a parts watch. And then right here is a Sportsman. I want to say this is an Elgin Sportsman. I think it's a woman's or boy's size watch, probably a boy's. Pretty darn beat up, so that's going to be another parts watch. And here is, well, that's a nice looking Elgin. That's probably the nicest looking watch I've shown you guys thus far. Does it work? Well, it winds, but it's not ticking at all. So unfortunately, dang, another non-working watch. I'm telling you, you guys, I'm pretty close to taking an online course to repairing watches, because it would save me a lot of money and help me make a lot more money. What is this right here? I really can't read that, but it says by Gruen. The crown is off, so I can't move the hands. Interesting. Kind of a cool looking watch. Let's take that back case off. So yeah, this is definitely a Gruen watch. It's got a Gruen movement on there. I have no idea what the dial says. I'll need my magnifying glasses for that, but nice looking movement. Another parts watch, but maybe a little more expensive. It's a vintage Helbros watch. It says automatic, but I just tried to wind it up and it's not running at all. It's probably from the 1940s. Kind of a cool looking watch though, and the hands are still in good condition. They still have the radium lume, which is pretty cool. Right here, this is a neat looking watch too. This is a Weiler, and oh, this might be, is this an automatic? No. Oh no, I don't think this is automatic. And here is a close-up. I just took off the crystal because it's actually a front loader. So to get to the movement, the crystal has to pop off, and this one's actually really easy to pop off. It's just like a snap-on type of case. But that dial is pretty sick looking. I'm not sure if that is just from patina or that's how it was made to look. What do you guys think? It maybe even will be, it kind of looks refinished to me, like a custom dial. I don't know, but it's a nice looking Weiler watch. This might be worth putting a crown on, especially if it's running. I think Weiler is a really underrated watch company. All right, you guys, we made it to the last 3 watches. Thanks for being patient. I know a lot of those watches were pretty junky, but here's a nice Bok Talk right here. Skin diver, submersible, automatic, possibly running. Gonna have to test it. Doesn't have the original bracelet, which but I think a nice thick NATO strap will look nice on this. So this crown is pretty sure it's a screw submersible type of crown. So let's see if the hands, and it looks like the crown is kind of loose, as you guys can see right there, but the hands are winding. I want to say that's probably just an issue with it not being a very high quality watch, but maybe with a nice bracelet, this maybe a $100 watch. All right, people, last 2 watches. This next one really caught my eye in the picture because of that green dial and the fact it says Grand Prix. It's an automatic, and this is another diver type watch. It feels good quality. It feels quite heavy. I'm really curious to know what kind of movement is in here, because Grand Prix, that's not a watch company. I'm wondering if this was maybe just, if it was kind of brokered by the watch maker of the movement to a store, and the store just had a bunch of watches and they put Grand Prix on the dial. Really sorry for the lighting. This is kind of hard to read, but it says pressurized 200 meters, so 600 feet deep. So this is a legit skin diver watch. I'm saying skin diver, it doesn't really have a skin diver look to it, but it is a diving watch. And let's see if this, yep, the crown also, oh, yep. We're looking good here. It's still running, setting time. That's a good sign. And then we're gonna screw it back in like that. Man, let's take a look at this movement. I'm really excited to see what's in here. So here's the case lid. Inside it says Pierpont Watch Company. And then here is the freaking movement, you guys. This is awesome. This is a Caravelle watch movement in here. So this must have been a brokered watch for some sort of business. And they just put Grand Prix on the dial, but Caravelle did the movement for them. Oh, that is super freaking cool. Wow. I'm not really sure what this watch is worth value-wise, but it is running. This might be worth hanging on to, honestly. It's got a really neat look to it. Nice orange dial. It says T-Swiss on the bottom, so no radium lume on there. So this is probably early mid-70s era. Man, I'll just throw a number out there, maybe a couple $100 if I get a nice bracelet for it. So, all right, everybody, last but not least, here is that potential valuable watch right here. It's a chronograph, a beautiful looking chronograph made by Marcel and C. Now, as you can see, the dial is phenomenal condition. The crystal basically has no scratches on it. The case, very nice condition. This is a beautiful, beautiful watch. It's not running, I don't think. Yeah, this is not running, unfortunately. It's gonna need a repair. Marcel and C, I've had one watch from them before. It was an automatic watch. I think most of their stuff is from like the late 60s, mid 70s era. It looks really good quality from the outside. You know, it looks pretty impeccable, and that's a great possibility. The only way to find out is to open up the case. So let's get it open. All right, it's a nice little snap off case. Well, darn it. It's only a 1 jewel movement. Obviously a lower quality movement. And I think it says Agon Watch Company. Yeah, no, Adon, yeah. AGON, Agon Chromatic Watch Corp. It's funny because I recently had a watch with that movement. So that's unfortunate. It does seem to be running though when it's upside down. It's still gonna need a service. Only 1 jewel movement. I'm pretty sure this is still at least $100 watch, even in repair condition, just because the quality look to it. More quick question for all you watch experts out there. Is this going to be serviced like a normal chronograph, or is it gonna be serviced differently because it's just a 1 jewel? Is it gonna cost less? Is it less work to service something like this? So you guys, these are my 2 favorite watches, but I'm only going to keep one. Let me know in the comments which one I should add to the collection, the Grand Prix Caravel or this Marcel & C 1 jewel chronograph. I really appreciate it.